Hi, I'm Samantha Heil, Executive Director of Book Fair at Bel Air, and I'd love to invite you to one of the biggest bookish events in the region. Join us on Saturday, August 8th, 2026 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at APG FCU Arena at Hartford Community College for a free, family-friendly event celebrating books, readers, and community. Book Fair at Bel Air features more than 110 authors and vendors, best-selling featured authors, kids' activities, face painting, story time, arts and crafts, photo ops, and plenty of fun for readers of all ages. Whether you're a lifelong reader, raising future bookworms, or just looking for a unique day out with the family, there's something for everyone at Book Fair at Bel Air. Learn more at www.bookfairatbelair.org or follow us on Instagram at Book Fair at Bel Air. We hope to see you there this August.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Hartford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch at first.
It's probably the least sexy part of organizing. No. The truth is.
Have you ever felt a nudge to do something that made absolutely no sense at the time? Maybe something that wasn't part of your plan, wasn't on your bucket list, and definitely wasn't in your comfort zone. My guest today knows exactly what that feels like. Jennifer Godwin spent 24 years running a successful photography studio, built a beautiful life with her high school sweetheart, raised a family, and looked forward to enjoying retirement. Writing a book wasn't on her agenda. In fact, it wasn't even a dream she seriously considered pursuing. But sometimes life takes an unexpected turn. And after a lifetime of experiences, faith, and lessons learned, Jennifer felt God calling her to do something she never imagined: write a book. So it started as an unlikely assignment, became a 3-year journey of obedience, discovery, and purpose, resulting in her book, Go Make Ripples. So in this conversation, we're going to be talking about the book. We're talking about faith, stepping into the unknown, the power of small actions, and how one person's willingness to say yes can create a ripple effect that reaches far beyond what they have ever imagined. So whether you're searching for purpose, wrestling with a calling, or simply wondering if the little things you do each day really matter, this is a conversation you won't want to miss. How you doing, Jennifer?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing good. It's great to see you. And for those of you listening, Jennifer has been on my other podcast, The Author Pitch, where she actually read an excerpt from the book. So when that comes out, make sure that actually I can tell you right now. I already told you and I forgot the date already. That'll be out September 8th. So look forward to that. The Author Pitch. Jennifer's going to be reading an excerpt from the book and pitching the book. So it's good. We had a good conversation, and that's short form. But when you're reading the excerpt from the book, just like it grabbed me, and I love that.
Good.
That there makes for a good book. At least I think so.
Yes, I hope so.
All right. So which I still kind of find it hard when you say retirement, because I may have told you this before. To me, you still look like you should be like in your mid 30s or whatever. It's way too young to retire.
Thanks.
But you were enjoying retirement after a successful career, right? And then you felt God calling you in a completely different direction. So take us back to that moment. What happened, and how did you know this was something you were supposed to pursue?
Well, it goes 20 years earlier to a dream I had. I had a dream, and in my dream, God told me I was going to write a book. Well, you know, God has given me other dreams, and I have, followed through with what he told me. And I thought, that's interesting. So I told my scholarly friend, who loved to go to college. She was a teacher, then an administrator, and, she just wanted to keep learning. I told her the next day, we were hanging out with our kids, and I said, "Oh, God told me I was going to write a book." And she goes, "Well, what would the book be about?" And I said, "I don't know. He just told me to write a book." And she says, "Yeah, but you haven't even gone to college." So I know, good friend. So, I mean, at least she was honest, and it's true. I knew that, and honestly, looking back now, I'm glad that I was so naive, because honestly, I didn't know people actually went to writing workshops and they did all these different prep things for writing books and stuff. I had no clue.
Right.
No clue at all. So fast forward, after she talked to me and gave me my little talk, I thought, maybe it was just a crazy dream, and then that was it. But it was about 20 years later, and God said, "It's time." And for some reason, I thought I could kind of pretend I didn't know what he was talking about. And so this went on for a couple weeks. And finally, he wouldn't let me sleep at night, because he just kept saying, you know what I'm talking about. I want you to write this book, and now's the time. And so,
oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Every time there's something that he wants me to do, he disturbs my sleep. And so I really like my sleep. And so I thought, all right, fine. I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to write. Well, like I told you before we got onto this podcast, I'm not tech savvy. Trying to get a piece of paper. I thought I'd write it on a piece of paper because I like that better than working on a computer. But I knew that, for my typing days, you can delete things. And I thought I'd better, since I don't know what I'm doing, I better have some way to delete it. Otherwise, I'm going to go through trees of paper. And so I sat, I'll bet it took me probably an hour to figure out how to start writing a book on a computer.
Wow.
Well, I know, hey, I'm not tech savvy. I'm sorry. I didn't have to do that with my photography studio. And I didn't have, and when I was in high school, that was when computers came out. And I took a computer class in high school, but you know what it was? Computer programming. And it was, and it was like C, Q, L, this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to program a computer. I just want to know how to put a floppy disk in and turn it on and how to work it. And they bypassed the whole simple version and went straight to programming a computer. So I didn't have that kind of knowledge that people, I was just in that in-between stage of computers coming out, didn't have to use it, and then went into my adult career of taking portraits.
All right. So I got to ask you this question, because some people listen may be a little skeptical. How do you hear God? How do you listen and hear God?
Well, like I said, I know, I mean, I know he really doesn't let me sleep. And he just kind of speaks to my mind. I mean, he just kind of does. It's just a hunch. It's a knowledge that it is. I know what I know, but I can't tell you how it is. You know how you know what somebody's thinking, but you don't know how you know what they're thinking. But then when they say it, you're like, I knew that's what you were thinking. It's the same thing with God.
Do you think a strong faith actually helps to
100%.
hear God as well? Okay.
100%. Because I don't know if I don't know if you truly hear God speaking unless you have a relationship with him.
Right. Yeah. And the reason I ask is because, some, and I may have told you before, because I still want to do an episode on how to talk to God, how to listen to God, even how to pray, because I do believe a lot of people don't know how.
I agree.
Yeah. And it's number one, you have to have faith. And I think that is very strong. And otherwise, I mean, anyways, I'm sorry. I'm going to sit back and let you continue because I cut you off there.
That's all right. So then I sat down and I started typing, and when I started typing, I really didn't know who my book was going to be written to. My passion is for people that don't know Jesus as their Lord and Savior, because I didn't grow up in a family that had God.
Right.
I didn't know Easter was a religious holiday. I thought it was Easter bunnies and people dressed up and went to church, but I didn't know what going to church meant. And Christmas was Santa Claus. Of course, back when I was younger, they had the little drummer boy cartoon, and I knew there was something else, but I couldn't quite figure out how this little baby born someplace warm had something to do with Santa Claus delivering gifts. So it was very confusing for me.
It's confusing for a lot of people.
Right. And so that was where my heart was. It's for unbelievers. That's where I thought it was going. But the longer I typed and the longer whatever came to my mind, I realized it was really truly for believers.
Okay.
And when it got all done, the problem is most believers have a fear of sharing Jesus with others. They think that they're going to be attacked. They think that they don't have all the right answers. They've been sold a bill of goods that they have to tell people that if you died tonight, where would you go? Would you spend eternity in hell? Well, that's going to work for some people, but for the most part, a lot of people, especially now, especially in this day and age, have a very negative opinion towards Christians. And so my book is more about how to weave Jesus in our everyday actions, activities, and conversations. Sharing Christian books, sharing Christian podcasts, sharing different things like that, or just being kind, like I was telling you earlier, I give out little blessing bags, and it's a little baggie with a gospel tract that shares how Jesus, how to have a relationship with Jesus. It's got one of those little Jesus mini figurines that they have, those little plastic ones now. Has some candy, so it makes the medicine go down better with the candy. And then I just hand it to people, and then they can read it on their own terms. So that's what I do. I just weave Jesus in every day.
Yeah.
And pray for people. But here's the biggest thing that Christians don't get. The biggest thing they don't get is that most people will not step into a church unless someone invites them. I would say 90% of all people will not just walk into a church on their own unless they're invited.
Yeah.
And so Christians aren't very good about inviting people to church.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, think about it, because people will say, it's my church.
Yeah.
It's my church. And so if it's their church, who do I think I am that I can just walk into their church? When somebody's going to an arena, to a concert or something like that, they don't call it my concert. They don't call it my arena. So that opens up the invitation that they can go wherever they want, because it's a public space. People don't think of church as a public space.
I never thought about that, but you're right. It's always my church. And wow. Because
so if it's your church, then you should be inviting.
Exactly. And I think throughout the years, I'm 63 now, I can probably count on one hand how many times people have invited me to their church. And the last time was...
And how many times have you invited?
Probably twice.
Ugh.
Probably twice.
That's the problem.
Well, and but here's the other thing too, because growing up, well, as a kid, I always went to a different church, but as I got older, I was going to a Catholic church, even though I'm not Catholic. So I didn't really feel like it was my church, if that makes sense, because I couldn't take communion or anything. At least that's what I was told in the Catholic religion. I couldn't take it. But, my sister, my brother are Catholic. My wife's Catholic. My kids are baptized Catholic. So I always went to the Catholic Church. But I got more out of actually a friend of mine when I was in the IT field went and to, was it Findlay, Ohio, to become a pastor. And I couldn't travel to his church because it was too far. But every Sunday morning, because he was televising the services. It was live stream.
Right.
And that's my church. I was doing that because I got so much out of his sermons. And I learned more.
Right. And I do think that has been a big help.
Oh, yeah.
But if people don't share sermons with people, they don't know what they don't know.
That's true. That's true.
It was like me. I didn't know, Easter was a religious holiday until somebody finally told me. Somebody finally explained it. You just don't. My son and I had this conversation all the time. He's always saying there's no reason somebody couldn't become a Christian because there's a church on every corner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
They think a lot of people think if you're good, you're going to go to heaven. I'm better than the neighbor down the road. I'm better than this person. So I'll get in and that person won't.
Yeah.
It's always on a judgment based philosophy on whether you're going to be in heaven or you're not going to be in heaven.
So, all right, when you started writing the book and you said typing, but you were typing on the computer, not a typewriter.
Yes, I did have typing class.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
That does help.
Now, I didn't use that skill for probably 30 years. So my typing skills were much worse than they are now. Now my typing skills are back where they were.
It was kind of hard to type on a camera. I mean, since you're doing photography, so, although these cameras nowadays, who knows, maybe you do.
Yeah, I got out of it before it went digital.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I'm sorry, there's still nothing like the old film and developing it and seeing the art come through. That's me.
Yes, but I'll go on a little rant. Kodak wasn't very kind to professional photographers. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, they were charging the professionals a lot of money for that film. And so that's why when you came in and I said I was going to take 12 pictures of you, I was going to take 12 pictures of you. I wasn't going to take 500 pictures and then you pick the best 12 out of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I made sure that they looked good before I took the picture. Everybody thinks they're a photographer now. I'm sorry, but everybody thinks they're a photographer. And when you look at, I'm sorry, it just,
I know.
They're snapshots.
Look, I was in the DJ business for years, and the same thing with DJs. They figure, I got a phone, I can stream music, so I can be a DJ. No, it doesn't work that way. It's the connection to talking to the people. And number one, if you're streaming your music and charging your customer, you're streaming it for free. That's against the law, and you shouldn't be doing it anyways, because you're supposed to pay for your music. But when you were writing the book, at any time did you feel like God was taking you in a different direction about what you were writing about when you first started?
Well, I didn't know what direction I was going in. I mean, I really didn't have a clue. Yeah, because like I said, I thought it was going to be for unbelievers, and then when I finished it up, it was like, no, this is definitely for believers. Because I mean, the unbeliever could read it because at the beginning, it's what one of my friends described it as one of those dummy books, how to be a Christian, but
for dummies.
Yeah, because that was how it was. Nobody really mentored me. Nobody discipled me. And so I kind of had to figure out everything on my own, so I had never read the Bible before. Well, if you'd never read the Bible, and you've never been, by the time I read the Bible, you only get an hour sermon once a week.
Right.
Okay. You're only going to learn so much in an hour sermon. I'm sorry. And so that's why you do need to read the Bible. And so when I started reading the Bible, I thought, well, we're going to read it at the beginning. Well, when you read Genesis, at least for me, it was kind of like, well, what else is left? Because we took care of Moses, we took care of Noah, we took care of Adam and Eve, we talked, so that was all interesting. And then when you got into Leviticus and, Numbers and who begot who,
right.
and, this is how big the temple is. And I was, it's not the easiest read in the world. I will say that it's not the easiest read, but I learned so much. And then it went on to the New Testament. And when I got to the New Testament, by the time I got to, I read Matthew, Mark, Luke. And when I got to John, I was like, I think I've read these stories over and over and over. And so then I started going back and seeing if I did read those stories. Well, nobody explained to me that it was different accounts from different people at the same time.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue. Nobody had told me that. So, but by reading the Bible, I learned so much that they could never teach me for the rest of my life by only going to church one hour a week.
Well, and the thing is too, you read the Bible, and even when you read the Bible, each book, you're not going deep into it. Even when you go to Bible study, you're not really going deep into it. And there may be books out there like that. I don't know, but it'd be nice just to really dig into it, go deeper. But that's probably a book that will take you forever to read, I would think.
Oh yeah, but they do Bible study. I mean, there's different Bible studies.
Yeah.
You can do a study on the book of Luke. You can do a study on the book of Revelations. You can, there's lots of different things like that. But yeah, you'd be learning for the rest of your life.
Yeah, be nonstop.
Because it's written in Latin, it's written in Greek, so I mean, you'd have to study those.
You spent 3 years writing the book.
Yes, I did.
What actually surprised you most about yourself during that process?
That I did it. I mean, honestly, I didn't know, again, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
And when you finish up a book, then when I finally got to breathe again, when I wasn't rereading my same book over and over and over to edit it, by the time I was done, of course, my son kept telling me, you need to learn to market this. You've got to market this. You've got to be marketing. I'm like, I don't even know who's going to read this.
Right.
I couldn't come up with maybe 30 people that would read it, and that was family and maybe good friends that would read this book. And, of course, along the way, you do have that dream of, oh, maybe it'll be like The Purpose Driven Life and it will sell millions of copies. You go from one extreme to the other. But when you start looking it up, if you look up how many books the first author writes, they don't sell very many books. But see, the good thing is I am a marketer. I am a salesperson. I love to sell. I mean, I like to be creative. I loved the creative part of the photography thing. I hated the equipment. If it could have just been me out there with just the person and making a beautiful portrait, that would have been the best thing without the equipment. But I could sell.
Yeah.
And I could sell, I could sell the portraits. Not a problem. I could sell them for the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, how I can sell. And I used to sell Avon when I was back in high school, and I was, top salesperson in my state for only being 16 years old. And I'm a salesperson. I really am. So I have sold a lot of my books, way more than most authors will sell. But that's because I know how to get it into the hands of people.
That's good.
But it's not all me either.
Yeah.
It's God. God has gotten my book into people's hands that there's no way I could have ever figured out how to have gotten them into their hands. So, yeah, when I was writing it, I even said it on my first page. It was going to take perseverance and determination to get the book finished. And it did. And I put it down several times. That's the only reason why it took 3 years. There were so many times when if you think you don't hear from God, you definitely hear from Satan. And Satan has a really distinctive voice.
Yeah.
He will tell you negative things like, who do you think's ever going to read this? Who do you think you are that you're writing this? People are going to make fun of you for writing this. You know, I heard this so many times. I put the book down and I thought, you know what? Nobody knows I did have a few people that I had told that I was going to write it. And that is what kept it going. That is what kept it going, because when you're halfway through and people will start encouraging you. And so I think when you start a project like that, you should vocalize it. You should tell people, hey, I'm going to do this. And then that way people can step up and combat the enemy's lies that he's telling you that you can't do this. And so, yeah, it changed me completely, because I don't use proper English. And so if anybody wanted to rewind this already, I'm sure I've taken off the G's on the end of my sentences, and like riding a bike.
Right.
It should be riding a bike, and I had to put a lot of those G's in my book, because it's like, I don't write it that way, but I do speak it that way. And so it was interesting. And I became a much better speller, because at least the nice thing is you can use your phone and you're like, how do you spell vehicle? And you just type, you just say it into your phone, and then it's like, oh, I actually spelled that right. So that made me a better speller.
And the other thing is too, as you're writing, a lot of times you'll look at a word and when you write, it's like, wait a minute, no, that doesn't look right. And you keep questioning yourself just to find out that it is right.
Well, you think about it. The word read, R-E-A-D, or I read a book, R-E-A-D, or live and live. It's spelled the exact same way. I don't know how people ever learn this when they're an adult, because the English language is so hard.
It's and I've always heard that it's one of the hardest languages to learn, to speak as well.
I don't doubt it.
Especially depending on what part of the country you go to learn from, because of all the different lingo and accents and everything.
Exactly.
You go to Baltimore, you're going to wash. Well, I don't even know how they say it here. Wash, whoosh, what?
I say wash, but it's not wash. There's no R.
Yeah.
But I do say wash my clothes.
All right. So when you were writing the book, was there actually a particular part that it was a two-part question, particular part in the book that was actually very difficult to write, and also especially meaningful to write as well?
Well, yes, because the reason why I ended my photography career was because I got sick, and we didn't tell everybody what I got sick with.
Right.
We didn't even really tell anybody, because we didn't really know if it was, and the doctors were kind of like, well, if it is, it's a really light case, but they put me on medication. I ended up with what they said was MS, and it changed the colors, and it changed some of my eyesight for a while.
Oh, wow.
And but as time went on, I stopped all medication. There is no distinctive test to say, yes, you have MS. They can do a whole bunch of tests and they say, well, you fit the profile, and so we're going to put you on that. Well, the other thing with that is MS medicine is very expensive.
Yes.
And I think that there's a lot of money to be made in pharmaceuticals.
No.
And so I think, oh, yeah, well, that's just me. But we could go on different conspiracies down the road. But so, yeah, I was having different symptoms. And the Nile virus. I think that's what I got. Look, when I was and I kept telling him that I'm like, it wasn't until I got bit by a whole bunch, and there were no antidotes or anything that you could take. It affected the elderly, it affected the young people, and pretty much you got bit as a middle-aged person, and you just dealt with a few symptoms and then it would go away.
Right.
Well, that's kind of what it did. But by that point, they said, nope, we're going to diagnose you with this and this is what you've got. And so then that's when I stopped doing photography. Well, since we didn't tell anybody and only a few people in my family even knew, when I was writing that, I felt kind of guilty that I even asked my husband, I said, is it all right if I put this in there? And, he said, oh, yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
And, but we didn't tell people because honestly, I had other people that I knew that had that disease. And it was always Tom with MS or Jane with MS. It was never just Jane or Tom.
Right.
It was always defining that person. And I didn't want to be defined by a disease.
Do you also feel in the back of your mind that the doctors were wrong and you didn't?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've not had any other symptoms.
Right.
I took the medication for probably 7-8 years, and it was weekly injections. But no, I went in and I told the neurologist. I said, okay, I really, and that was another dream. There were several people that said, I think you should go off of this, and it was when God talked to me. He said, yep, I think you should, and I laid out fleece tests. I said, okay, if my husband says it's okay, if the doctor says it's okay, then I'm going to go off the medication. And all three did. And so that was what it was. So I went off the medication. I haven't had anything since.
I've had a couple friends that were diagnosed with MS and and they were on medicine for years, and the medicines just kept, screwing them up all kinds of different ways just to find out that the doctors are wrong and they didn't have MS.
Yeah.
But some of the medicine caused other things, other problems.
It's the most misdiagnosed disease there is. And like I said, it's a very expensive medication that it's on. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that was probably the hardest thing, because it was like, I kind of felt guilty, here's my aunts that I know my aunts would probably read my book, and it's like, okay. And I didn't ever tell them. There were close family members that didn't know that I went through this. And then, what was the other meaningful, hard or meaningful? Well, it wasn't so meaning. Yes, it was. Or I wrote about the person that led me to the Lord.
Okay.
The first person that she was the one that asked me the question, do you want to know how to get to heaven? And so what was meaningful was I saved the very first copy. I didn't even give my husband the first copy of my book that I got in the mail. I gave it to her because she was the one that led me to the Lord. And I just felt like I wanted to honor her with my book because she was the one that started the whole process of this.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Yeah. So that was the most meaningful thing that I was able to, because she wasn't in my life. She happened to be a friend's sister. Didn't even know she had a college age sister. And I just happened to be spending the night at her sister's house, and she walked into the room. So, and I only seen her one other time, and that was when her husband had passed away, and I knew that I would be able to see her at the funeral, and I wanted to give her something that was positive in the receiving line. And I just wanted to, so I just said to her, I said, I know you might not know who I am, but I'm Jennifer. You led me to the Lord. And I wanted to just say thank you and thank you for what you've done for me in my life.
Wow.
And so then I passed. But that was the only 2 times that I had ever met her until I gave her my book.
Wow.
And then we had a great conversation. Well, here's the weird thing. She led me to the Lord. She actually wrote letters to me to help me grow spiritually.
Right.
Because pretty much I was just thrown out there. And come to find out, I never got any of the letters she wrote. I didn't even know she ever tried to keep in touch with me.
What?
Yeah, well, her sister probably thought it was dorky and didn't want to give it to me, and she didn't. So.
Oh.
And we didn't have cell phones back then.
Well,
and we did,
yeah.
Yeah.
So you've never seen any of the letters to this day?
No, they just no.
Wow.
They're gone. I know that's a shame.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I know.
All right. So the title, Go Make Ripples.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you come up with that name, and what's it mean to you personally?
Well, it wasn't my first my first title choice.
Okay, I gotta hear the other ones.
There were some. It's in my book.
Okay.
It's at the beginning of my book of what some of the ideas I had. But everybody kept shooting me down. So finally, I'm like, I am not telling anybody else the title of my book until I'm done. And then I will decide the title of my book, and nobody else will decide the title of my book. And I really liked the ripple effect, but it was so well used. And Tim Tebow's mother at the time had just written a book with that title. And I didn't know this, but I did find this out. That's the one thing you can't copyright is the title of a book. There's multiple books with the same title.
Yeah.
You can't copyright that. And so I could have had the ripple effect, but I wanted to do something else. I was a cheerleader in high school. And so it was always go make a basket or, whatever. And so I thought, go make ripples, go get off that. Yeah. Get off the bench and get off the pew and go out there and start making ripples. And that's what it is. It's just little things that ripple into something big. I mean, when Rhonda asked me if I wanted to know how to get to heaven, she would have never known that I'd write a book later on in life that would go out to spread the gospel and, tell others about me sitting here with Rich Bennett and telling people about Jesus Christ. I mean, she never knew that, but it's been a ripple.
Yeah. All right. So let people know, because we've talked about the writing journey, but we actually haven't talked about the book yet. Let people know what the book is about, because it's not a memoir, right?
It is a little bit. Yes. I mean, yeah, it takes me back to age 6. Okay. I started at the beginning. Well, like I said, I didn't know how to read a Bible. I didn't know how to write a book. So, there were a lot of people that said, oh, you have to group all your like-minded subjects together. And that didn't make sense to me. I like to start at the beginning. I mean, if we're going to start somewhere, we're going to start at the beginning. And so I started when I was 6, and that was when I remembered, hearing the name of God and trying to figure out God. And like I said, with the little drummer boy, I knew there was something, and I was trying to figure out God. And so it took me on all the steps, all the times that I remembered that God was brought into my life. And it's quite amazing to me. Those are some of my most vivid memories as a child. I remember all my little God moments,
wow.
When my grandpa gave me a Bible, or, somebody took me to VBS and they had the little flannel board and, all of those things. So it takes you through that. It takes you through my spiritual journey on how I first started to read a Bible and how I figured out, there's different translations of Bibles. There's the New King James Version, which I couldn't read that. I couldn't read that now if I wanted to read that. I'm not in Shakespeare era. Right. I just can't. Thee, thou, and it was funny because even when I tried to type up thee and thou on my computer, it kept auto-correcting it. It was like, no, those aren't real words. So it is about that, but then it's also about how I've tried to, the crazy adventures that God's put me on. I had a junior high camp, or well, not junior high. It was third through fifth grade.
There's a big difference from junior high.
Yes. Third through fifth grade, summer camp.
Okay.
Because they were sending them clear to Missouri from Iowa. And I was like, that's too far for those little kiddos. And so we did a third through fifth grade. We did it in my backyard. I had a big backyard and I had a swimming pool, and I roped people into doing crafts, and I roped people. And so, it was just different things that, different adventures God and I went on. And then it turned into, how I spread the gospel now, how I pass out the blessing bags, how I tell people about different books, or invite them to church, or share podcasts. And it's just different things. I mean, I didn't even know that there was Christian, like we said earlier, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
I didn't know that there was Christian music on the radio. And so when somebody told me about Christian music on the radio, it was like, wow, I didn't know that. And so they shared with me where you can listen to Christian music. I mean, like, I had no clue that there was a K-Love radio station.
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, they just bought the last station I worked at.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You don't. And how does somebody find that out unless somebody tells them?
Yeah. Oh, I listen to the Message on Sirius XM a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I love Christian music.
But see, do you tell people about it?
Oh, all the time.
Well, that's good. That's good, because a lot of people don't.
I mean, when I was DJing, there would be events where I was DJing and I would throw on a Christian song, and a lot of people didn't know what I was playing, but they liked it. It's something about it that just pulls you in and grabs you.
Well, and the other thing is, they're thinking the old rugged, again, if you don't know what you don't know, it's not, I'm not talking about the old Rugged Cross songs. Okay. Right. I'm talking about everyday popular, like Lauren Daigle, however she pronounces her last name. I mean, she's on mainstream, regular radio stations, but she's really a Christian singer. And so it's that kind of music. It's it can be rap, it can be country, it can be
like Toby Mac.
It's all genres of music, of Christian music. So Christian music has all genres, it's has. And actually, well, here's the other thing. My husband and I have talked about this. The reason why they keep playing the 70s, the 80s music is because that was when people were actually writing songs, and they, instead of it, but the people that are really writing songs now are Christians. Yeah. It's the Christians that are actually writing more songs than even popular songwriters aren't. They're using the AI stuff, and they're, they can't come up with anything new.
Well, you're seeing that with movies too. Look how many movies and TV shows they're remaking because they can't think of something new. But you look at the Christian ones, because there are Christian channels. Oh, yeah. And the stuff on there is amazing.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's
absolutely.
Yeah. The prayer bags, is that what you call them? Blessing bags. Blessing bags. So when somebody purchases the book, do they get the blessing bag with it, or is that only in person?
That's only in person. Okay. Because it's for unbelievers,
Right.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've given it to Christians before, and then when they look at it, and then they, sometimes I stick around long enough for them to open it up and that what have you. But if there are Christians, I look at them and you can instantly pretty much know, because they look at the Jesus. Oh, I go to this church, or I do, and it's like, good. Then you pass it on to somebody else that needs it, that don't know about Jesus.
Yes.
I don't let them off the hook. I used to be really sad when I sold a lot of things on Craigslist back in the day, a lot of stuff. And every person that got, everybody that came to look at the item, or everybody that purchased something, they always got a gospel track. Well, I used to be sad when it was a Christian, because I'm like, oh, I wanted to go to an unbeliever. But then I figured out, you know what? Nope. I'm going to push that Christian into giving it to somebody else.
Right.
Because they need to learn too. And that's why with my book, it's Christians being inspired to go out and do something. Look, all Christians can go out and spread the gospel in one form or the other.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. That is another big surprise. How many people, the funny thing is I always thought it would be written. I didn't write it gender wise. I mean, it's not fluffy. I'm more of a Joyce Myers and not a Beth Moore.
Okay.
I'm more direct in your face. You just need to go spread the gospel. Mm-hmm. I don't go, well, if you would go do this, I'm not that kind of person. Sorry. So that was what surprised me is how many men liked my book. I have had as many men enjoy my book as women. Matter of fact, I just went to a funeral and it had a lot of the old church members there.
Yeah.
And a guy that, I knew him, I'd seen him before, but he wasn't in my children's age group, so we didn't really ever have a big connection.
Right.
And, I knew who he was, knew his name, but didn't know him. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I read your book." And it's always interesting to me when a 50-year-old man comes up and says he read my book. And he said, he goes, it was sitting I got it at the library. Oh. It was sitting next to Charlie Kirk's book. And he's like, "I think I know this person." And he opened it up and he goes, "Yeah, it is." And so he said, "I read it." And he goes, "It was so interesting because," he goes, "I actually knew some of the people that were in the book." And he said, "That was kind of fun but as we're sitting there, another gentleman walked up and he proceeded to give a whole commercial for my book to the other guy. "Yeah, she wrote this book and it was good and you should get it. And you haven't gotten it. You should read it." And so it's amazing to me that even guys like this book.
Why is that?
I don't know. Because Rich, I could only come up with 30 people that would read my book. I didn't know. Hey, remember, I was a photographer. I wasn't an author. I don't know. It surprises me how well received it has been. It has blown me away. How well received it has been.
I do believe you are seeing more men reading books like that. And I might be wrong, but I think one of the reasons is what I think Charlie Kirk's definitely a big reason. But I also believe Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty, his books.
I'm more like Phil.
Yeah, but I think that was a big reason why I think you're seeing a lot more men reading the books, whether it be written by a male or a female.
Okay.
It's just what I believe.
I'm not a male, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'll take your word for it.
I do it because that's one of the things I've always loved about Duck Dynasty. Any of the Duck shows when they were on, at the end, they would always finish, even their podcast.
Yeah, their podcasts are great.
Yeah.
I listened to the Unashamed podcast.
Yeah.
And
I haven't listened to it since Phil passed. I have to. Because his sons are just as good. Just as good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have to listen to it. All right, so with the book, sorry, I'm just pulling cables out. With the book, what was one of your favorite parts to write?
Well, I really like, again, back to the cheering. Mm-hmm. I love to encourage people to do things. I love to, and you didn't know when you were writing it. I didn't know that was it. It didn't come until the feedback.
Okay.
And so there were so many people that said, "Oh, I have all these Christian books sitting around and I never thought to give them to somebody. I always thought I just needed to donate them, or they're just sitting on my shelf doing nothing." And pretty much I say to people, if you got a Christian book sitting on your shelf, that Christian book cannot help any other person sitting on your shelf.
That's true. Yeah.
It needs to get out into people's hands. You need to either give it to somebody that will read it, or you need to leave it somewhere like a little, one of those little mini libraries, or an laundromat, or a doctor's office, or take it somewhere where well, I give a lot of books to, our local jail. Now they only take paperback here. Now there are places that they take hardbacks, but they only take paperbacks here. But I give a lot of those away. And matter of fact, you don't know until you start talking to somebody what affects other people. I was buying a whole bunch of the same book, The Purpose Driven Life. That's a big book for jails to have. And the gentleman that was selling it was at a Teen Challenge thrift store. And he says, do you know you already have this book? He goes, you're buying 3 copies of the same book. I said, yeah, I give them to the jail. He goes, oh, thank you so much. And he says, I was in jail and I appreciated all the Christian books that they had.
Yeah.
He said, keep up the good work. So that's the thing, you get you see the encouragement in different places. You write it, but you didn't know that was going to be what spoke to somebody. Mm-hmm. Like I even had one, and it's funny what people will say to you as to what they got out of your book. I switched churches not because of doctrine, but because I wasn't growing in my first church.
Okay.
It was so theological, it was floating over my head. And so when we switched to the other church, it was like, wow, they actually speak English and I can understand it and I can apply it to my life. So I had a lady that read the book and she said, I've been going to this church for a very long time and I just felt like I needed to stick around for my friends and such. But she says, I never felt that I was spiritually growing. And she said, you gave me the courage to switch churches. Now, I did not write my book to encourage people to switch churches, right, but it did speak to her that way because of my experience.
Wow. Yeah, you are getting a lot of good reviews on it as well. You see them on your website.
Yeah.
Which is great. Oh. People are learning a lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. I've had people tell me, I never thought I could do this, but then I started praying. Like I pray for my servers when we go on vacation. Well, anytime we go out to eat. And, everybody that goes out to eat with us knows that I'm going to do this. So, and this was a funny story that's in my book. My husband doesn't like to really step out and do different things.
Okay.
And so the first time I prayed in front of him, I asked the server, I said, we like to pray before dinner, which we do.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I said, is there anything that I can pray about for you? Now, of course, that came out in record speed because I was really nervous and really scared. And my husband was looking at me. And when we got done, he goes, what was that about? And are we going to do that again? Now he likes it. But so I always ask my servers how I can pray for them. And a lot of people have told me, I started doing that. They're like, I love
that idea.
It's nerve-wracking, but they're like, I have gotten so much great feedback from people. So much. And so I've been hugged so many times by waiters and waitresses. So many times. I have one waitress that will probably outtop anybody's prayer request. I asked her if we could pray for her. She grabbed her heart. She started to, tears coming out her eyes. And she said, I would love for you to pray for me. My husband was murdered. My fiance was murdered and I have to go to court next week and I need the strength to be able to speak and to know what I should say.
Wow.
In my testimony. So yeah, you just don't know what people are going through. You just don't know. And the thing is, when we go on vacation, we are at one place for a while,
right,
and I am good friends with the staff. That's the best way to get good service is to hang out with the staff. It isn't the people in charge. It's the people that you're dealing with. And I can tell you, nobody cares about the staff.
No, they don't, unfortunately.
People don't say please and thank you when they're ordering. The only time they hear anything is when it's something bad. And so when somebody comes along and they say thank you and they say please and they ask you if you can pray for them, I've been told this many times, they're going to expect a really bad tip because Christians don't tip well. Well, we're out to prove that wrong. We tip well. And even when it's done, I give blessing bags, but I also put in a devotional.
Oh,
I give them a devotional, so when it's over, I give them a devotional too.
I love that.
Because, it's just a ripple.
Yeah.
If they can get a better feeling of a Christian,
then
they're going to think a little bit more about Jesus.
And they're going to pass it on.
Right. Wow. But if all they ever see from Christians is a negative, why do that?
Yeah.
Why become a Christian? If Christians are just like the people in the world, why be any different? We have to be different.
Wow. I love that idea and we may have spoke about this on the other podcast. One of the things I always pray before I eat, no matter what, even if it's a candy bar, although I stopped eating the candy bars. But yeah, we go out and everything. But I'm going to have to do that now. I ask my server if there's a prayer that I can, if they want me to include them in my prayers for anything.
See, and here it is. It's a ripple.
Yeah.
So if I encourage you to do it and then you go out and do it, maybe somebody else will do it.
Oh, I love that. You're doing speaking engagements now as well, right? Okay.
Yep. That was another funny story.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I had some woman, she got my book at a coffee store in a small town. She asked me to come and speak. I told her I'd never spoke before. I'd never, spoken before. Now at the time I was an MC for an organization where a speaker did come and talk, but I introduced the speaker and such. And I'm not afraid to use my mouth. I'm okay with using my mouth on speaking. And so I told her that. I said, I've never professionally spoke before. And she's like, okay. She was a little nervous, but she still had me come. And God had been telling me that I was probably going to start doing speaking. And I was like, another thing, like throw me in. I'm writing a book. I've never had social media. I had to learn how to do social media. Now I'm going to start speaking. It's like, boy, did you just completely change my whole entire life, my whole existence? And yes, he did. And so I went and spoke, and she even paid me. So God's like, okay, there's the explanation point. You are going to start speaking. And so I took a speaker's course, and yes, I've been speaking at different churches since then. But yeah, I mean, it was just something God threw me in, and he's like, okay, let's go on this other journey. I used to tell people when it's calming down now because I'm settling in. Of course, this was a little nervous. I was glad that people are only going to hear my voice instead of see me. And so, well, hey, we talked about this at the beginning. And so, I'm more comfortable on doing these things, but I kept telling people at the beginning, I'm like, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster ride and I'm holding tightly onto the bar because I never know when God's going to say, okay, now let's do this.
Right.
And we go down a hill or we go up the hill. And so I was just hanging on to the bar. I'm glad the safety belt's still on, but I might not be clutching the bar quite as much as I was before.
Oh, geez. All right. Something very important. Tell the listeners why they need to purchase Go Make Ripples.
Well, just like you, because even the smallest ripples can lead someone to Christ. And if now Rich Bennett goes out and starts asking his servers how he can pray for them, you just never know. It's like I listened to one of your podcasts, like I was telling you, I listened to one of your podcasts. He happened to have dinner with two people that committed suicide, days after he had dinner with them. And not that he caused the suicides. But if we can if we can affect somebody else's well-being because of kindness, Jesus' kindness, then it's all worth it. And so I want people to go out and make ripples.
I love that.
I want them to go out and share Jesus by making ripples and sharing him with others. The love that he gave you, go share his love with others.
Hey, all of you listening, you know what I'm going to say. When you purchase Go Make Ripples by Jennifer Godwin, after you read it, make sure you leave a full review wherever you can leave reviews. Purchase copies for other people and pass them on. As a matter of fact, for all you businesses, nonprofit organizations, service organizations, here's what you need to do. Purchase several copies, donate them to the local jail, donate them to a recovery center, donate them to whoever you think, basically anybody, because we need to keep the ripples going. We need to create tidal waves from these ripples. So make sure you purchase copies and donate them. I love the idea of donating them to the jail. That is great. The recovery centers, they could always use them. So many different places. So many different places. Jennifer, something important. Tell everybody the website and how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, Rich, we talked about not being being tech savvy here. GoMakeRipples.com. Find me on Facebook, Jennifer Godwin, or Ripples for God.
It's easy. What else. Easy stuff. And follow her on Amazon, because when she releases another book, Amazon will notify you. You are going to write another book, aren't you?
I'm in the process.
I had a feeling. Yeah. All right. So Jennifer, before I get to the last question, which you're going to pick, is there anything you would like to add?
Like I said, you just don't know what one ripple will do to affect others. And you may save someone from committing suicide. You may save a marriage. Open your mouth, share Jesus.
Yeah.
Because, here's the most important thing. If you believe Jesus is the most important thing that you have in your life, why would you keep it to yourself?
Oh,
I tell people this all the time. If you knew gas was 50 cents down the road, you would tell every single person you know. I don't care if it's a convenience worker. I don't care if it's the bug man coming to spray your house. You'd go, you know what? Down the road, you can get gas for 50 cents. You would tell everybody. We have something way more important than 50-cent gas. We have the saving grace of Jesus Christ. And if we aren't sharing Jesus Christ with everybody, shame on us, because then do we really believe it?
Right. I love that. All right, we're going to see how good you are now, because a lot of times when my guest picks the question, it aligns with what we've been talking about. So we're going to see how you are at your numbers. I need you to pick a number between 1 and 5.
4.
4. Okay, now I need you to pick a number between 61 and 80.
80. None of my favorite numbers popped in there, just so you know.
Well, all right, we'll have to do 2 questions then, because we'll do one of your favorite numbers, because I got 100 different questions here. Okay. If you could design a perfect educational system what would be its core principles?
Well, if I could design a perfect one, it would have Jesus Christ in it. It'd be with the 10 Commandments. It would be, serving others. It would be thinking of others first. It would be, it would be Jesus first, others second. Then you could put yourself third, but it would be Jesus, others, and then yourself.
And I think that's something that needs to be in all school systems, to be honest with you. Yeah. That's just me. Did you want to pick one of your favorite numbers too? I don't usually give people 2 questions, but I'll let you.
Oh, well, my favorite number is 24.
24. Your age. Okay. Let me see here.
Yeah, right. Years ago.
24. Yeah, but we already know the answer to this one.
Okay.
What's a risk you took that you're incredibly glad you did, even if it didn't turn out as expected?
Oh,
well,
but it's true. Writing this book,
yeah.
I would have never believed the benefits of that I have experienced from writing this book. I have had so many new relationships, so many opportunities, so many things from writing this book. And that's the other thing, you don't know what you don't know by not going and doing it. If you don't do it, if you don't take the step of faith to do it, you'll never have that experience. And the experience that I have had from writing a book, and let me tell you, it was not easy. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. I swear it is. Even harder than raising kids. But the joy I have gotten from it, the joy is not comparable.
Now I have to go read it.
Well, Rich, I kind of asked you why you hadn't read it before, but you were saying you were going to be like Larry King.
And and now I want to read it. Plus, I can't show you.
But you should have wanted to read it before.
I did, but I can't show you because I can't move the camera. I have 5 totes, big totes of books that authors have sent me that have come on the show. I'm not a fast reader. I never took the Evelyn Wood speed reading course.
I didn't either, but you know what you do? This is what I tell people. And because I've had different people that say, I want to read your book, but I don't read. I'm not a reader. I'm like, 3 pages a day. But the thing is, you're going to end up reading more than 3 pages.
Right, because you get hooked.
Yep.
I know.
It's 3 pages a day.
And I've tried reading more than one book at a time. I can't do that.
Oh, I do that. But see, I read a lot of theological books, and I'll read 1 chapter of a hard book, and then I reward myself with being able to read the fun book after it. So somebody's testimony or somebody's.
My wife does it. I don't understand how she can do it.
Well, because the theological book isn't the same.
I know.
I'm not reading a 2 novels.
Yeah. Oh, she is.
I couldn't read 2 novels where you've got a storyline here and then you got a storyline there, because then that would be confusing. But if you're reading one that's more, like I said, educational, and then one more that's more storyline or something like that, then,
Oh, well, I'll try to read more.
But you know what, Rich, are you ever going to be able to read my book? Because you got a whole tote of books that you don't read yet.
You know what? I'm going to make you this promise right now. I am going to start reading it today. I promise you.
Because you know what, Rich? I'm one of those people. I will follow up.
Thank you.
And that's another thing too. Christians don't follow up. If you would just follow up with what you do, if somebody tells you that they're having a bad day and you pray for them, follow up. How are things going?
Yeah.
Should I keep praying? because then they know that you are actually praying for them.
Yeah.
But follow up. Yeah, I had this suit salesman that I think he just bought my book because we were having a fun conversation. And I've called him for the last 2 years. Joe, have you read my book yet? Joe, have you started my book yet? And actually, Joe started reading my book. He goes, you know what? It's an actually pretty good book. I'm like, Joe, I keep telling you, you should have been reading my book. But yeah, I follow up.
Well, hold me accountable. Follow up with me.
I will.
And I won't lie.
I'm very persistent.
Okay.
I wrote a book. I'm very persistent.
Okay. I'll make sure I get it done. Jennifer, thanks so much. Always great seeing you. And the door's always, well, you got to come back on both podcasts when the second book is finished.
All right. Sounds good.
I'll be here still. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
As we wrap up this episode, I keep coming back to one simple word: ripples. Jennifer reminded us that changing the world doesn't always start with a microphone, a stage, or writing a book. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as an invitation, a conversation, a prayer, a smile, or asking someone, "How can I pray for you?" Those little moments may seem insignificant to us, but to someone else, they could be exactly what they needed that day. I also loved hearing how Jennifer never planned to become an author. She simply chose to be obedient when she felt called to do something outside of her comfort zone. 3 years later, that decision has encouraged countless people to live their faith more intentionally and to realize that sharing hope doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be genuine. One thing that really stood out to me was her reminder that people don't know what they don't know. Whether it's inviting someone to church, sharing a book, recommending a podcast, or simply showing kindness, we never know how one small action might change someone's life. That's the ripple effect. So here's my challenge for you. Before today ends, create one ripple. Reach out to someone. Encourage someone. Pray for someone. Invite someone. Thank someone. You may never see where that ripple ends, but that doesn't mean it isn't making a difference. And if you'd like to learn more about Jennifer, pick up a copy of Go Make Ripples, or invite her to speak to your church or organization, and be sure to visit gomakeripples.com. And as always, if this conversation encouraged you, please share this episode with someone who could use a little hope today. Leave a review, tell a friend about the podcast, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Reach out to me and let me know what ripple you're going to create this week. Until next time, I'm Rich Bennett. Thanks for listening, and remember, every great conversation starts with someone willing to listen and someone willing to share. And now it's your turn. Join the conversation by sharing this episode, leaving a comment, or reaching out to me directly. Take care, be kind to one another, and I'll talk with you again soon.